She always pours the coffee a little earlier on her birthday morning. Maye Musk is in her 80s now. Her hands move a little more carefully across her small kitchen than they used to. The cup she takes down from the shelf is the same one she has used for as long as she can remember. Porcelain, with a hairline crack near the handle, the kind of crack a woman of a certain age does not throw out because it has earned the right to stay. She places the cup on the counter. She glances at the small clock on the wall. It is just before noon in California. Somewhere in Texas or Brownsville or somewhere over the Atlantic or at a launch site or in a conference room with men who do not yet know they are about to be told something difficult. Somewhere in the world, her son is alive. And in the next hour, the phone is going to ring. She knows because she has known for 35 years. She is not nervous. She is not waiting in the way that a mother who is afraid of being forgotten waits. She is waiting in the way that a mother who has been remembered every single year for 35 years waits. Calmly, almost ceremonially, as if pouring a second cup of coffee for a guest who has always come. She does pour a second cup. She always does. He never sees it, of course. He never sees that she pours coffee for him on her birthday, as if he could be there, as if the boy she sent away in 1990 with 2 bags and an open ticket were still small enough to climb onto the kitchen stool the way he used to. He cannot know, but she pours it anyway. This is the story of a promise. A promise made in a small kitchen in Pretoria in 1990 by a 17-year-old boy who did not yet know he would build cars or rockets or change the way the world thought about the future. A promise made to a mother who at that moment was simply trying to hold herself together long enough to put him on a plane. What he promised that night, she has never told anyone publicly. She has not told her other children. She has not told her grandchildren. She has not told her closest friends. But every year when the phone rings, she knows that her son has remembered. And every year she pours a second cup of coffee, just in case. The night Elon Musk left South Africa was, by every account, an ordinary night. There was no rocket launch, no factory, no headline that could explain to a future reader that something important had happened in that kitchen. There was just a young man, his mother, a kettle that had whistled and gone quiet, and the smell of bread that had cooled hours ago. Maye remembers him sitting at the table the way he always sat, slightly hunched, slightly inward, the way a son sits when he is about to tell his mother something he is not sure she will be able to hear. She remembers thinking, he has gotten so tall. That is what mothers think on nights like this. They do not think about the world he is going to enter. They do not think about the danger or the loneliness or the possibility that he might fail. They think simply that the boy in front of them is tall now, and that this is the last meal he will eat in their kitchen for a long time. He did not eat much that night. He told her about Stanford. Not Stanford as the world knows it, not the laboratories or the engineering or the venture capital, just Stanford as a name on a sheet of paper somewhere across an ocean she had never crossed, in a country she had been to only once, a long time ago, on a trip she did not finish. He told her about Canada first. He would go to his mother's home country, to relatives, to a cousin he had not seen since childhood. He would work, he would save, he would find his way to the schools that taught what he wanted to learn, and then, somehow, he would build something. He did not know what yet. He only knew that the something would be very large and very far away from the small house they had stood in for the last hour. May said almost nothing. She let him talk. She had learned, somewhere in the long arc of motherhood, that there are nights when a mother's job is not to advise. It is not to question. It is not even to reassure. It is simply to make sure that her son hears himself, that he hears his own voice say the words out loud, that the future, when it arrives, will not feel like an accident. He finished. The kitchen was quiet. And then he made the promise. He did not write it down. There was no contract, no ceremony, no witness apart from the kettle and the dim overhead light. He looked across the table at his mother, the woman who had raised him through every hard thing, the woman who had taken every blow life had aimed at her family and absorbed it without ever, for one moment, asking her children to carry it for her. And he said something very small. He said, "I will always call you, no matter what. On your birthday, no matter where I am, no matter what is happening in my life, no matter what I am building or fixing or fighting, I will always call. And I will ask you to tell me the story." She knew immediately which story he meant. It was a story she had told him 100 times when he was a child. A strange, half-folktale, half-true story about a girl on a Boer farm a long time ago. A girl who could see the future, who looked out from a small window onto a field of grass and knew, before anyone else, when a storm was coming. The girl's name was lost to history. The story did not have an ending. It only had a feeling, the feeling of someone small standing at a window, knowing. He had loved that story the way only certain children love certain stories, not because of the plot, but because of the loneliness inside it. The loneliness of seeing something before anyone else. He had asked her, the night he made his promise, to tell him that story again every year, to make sure he still remembered it, to make sure he never forgot what it felt like to be the boy at the window who knew. She said yes. He left 2 weeks later. The first year, he called from a payphone in a Canadian town she could not pronounce. The connection was bad. The receiver was cold against his ear. He had 2 coins. He used both. He sang her happy birthday, a few half-shouted lines in the version she had taught him as a child, the one that ended with a small Afrikaans flourish she had not heard from anyone but her own mother. And then he asked her, "Tell me the story." She told him. She had only a few minutes before the connection cut. She rushed. He laughed at how she rushed. He hung up. He stood in the booth for a long time after. He did not cry. He did not need to. He had only needed to hear her voice. The second year, he called from California. He had just arrived. His shoes were wet from rain he had not been ready for. The story took longer that time because she could feel something different in him, something tightening, something becoming. The third year, he called from Palo Alto. The fourth year, he called from a Zip2 office that had no furniture in it. He apologized for the noise of a fan that was overheating somewhere behind him. She did not tell him to fix the fan. She just told him the story. By the 7th year, PayPal had been sold. He had money for the first time. He could afford to call from anywhere. He still called. The 10th year, he called from a hospital. He did not say which hospital. He did not say who was sick. He sounded tired in a way she had not heard before. He asked her, very quietly, to please tell him the story. She told it more slowly that year, She let the silences breathe. She did not ask, after she finished, who was in the hospital. She trusted that he would tell her if he needed her to know. The 11th year, 2002, he called and his voice was different again. Not tired, not anxious, something else. He had moved to Texas. He had bought land. He was beginning to think about something that would later be called SpaceX. He did not tell her any of this directly. He just told her, before he asked for the story, that he hoped she was sitting somewhere comfortable. He said, "Mom, I have a feeling something is going to start." She told him the story. She did not ask what was going to start. The years began to compress after that. Each call became a small, beautiful punctuation in the noise of a life that was beginning to attract noise from everywhere. By 2006, he was being called a genius. By 2007, he was being called a visionary. By 2008, he was being called by some people a fool. That year, 2008, the year his rockets were exploding on the launch pad and his car company was running out of cash, was the only year that came close to breaking the promise. He almost did not call. He had been awake for almost 2 days. He was in California. His employees were quietly making backup plans for unemployment. His phone was ringing with men who wanted things from him: money, decisions, blame, reassurance. He had a meeting scheduled for the very hour she always expected to hear from him. He thought, briefly, about texting her instead, but he did not. He walked out of the meeting halfway through. He told a startled assistant that he would be 10 minutes. He went into a small office at the back. He closed the door. He sat on the floor. He called. She picked up. Her voice was the same as it had been when he was 18, the same as it had been when he was 8, the same as it would be, he understood for the first time, for as long as she lived. He could not speak for a moment. She did not ask him why he could not speak. She did not ask if he was all right. She did not ask anything at all. She just told him the story. By the time she got to the part about the girl at the window, he was crying without making a sound. There was a long silence. Elon Musk has been called many things over the course of 3 decades, many of them kind, many of them not. He has been called the most influential man of his generation. He has been called dangerous. He has been called reckless. He has been called a savior of the human species by people who meant it, and a destroyer of the public good by people who also meant it. He has rarely been called a son. But on that day, in a small house in California, with the phone pressed to her ear and a second cup of coffee growing cold on the counter, Maye Musk understood something she had always known but had never said. The story was never really about a girl at a window. It was about him, the boy at the window. The boy who had always seen the storm coming before anyone else could see it. The boy who had built the rockets and the cars and the empires and the controversies. Every one of them, every one, out of the same loneliness he had carried at the kitchen table in 1990. The night he had asked her to keep telling him a story he was not yet old enough to recognize as his own. She had told it every year for 35 years. She had told it because she had not known what else to do. She had told it because she had wanted him every year, somewhere in the noise of the world, to hear his own voice as a child again, and to remember that long before he had been the man on the magazine cover, he had been the boy at the window. She did not say any of this to him on the phone. She only said, "I love you, my boy. Call me again next year." And he did what he had always done. He said, "I will," and then he hung up. If you watch his life from the outside, you will see what everyone has always seen. The launches, the factories, the arguments, the headlines, the trillion-dollar valuations, the lawsuits, the children, the politics, the wins and the losses arranged in newspaper columns. But every year, on a certain day in California, a phone rings, and a woman in her 80s pours a second cup of coffee that no one will drink. And somewhere in the world, a man who has changed the way humanity thinks about the future stops what he is doing. He sits down. He listens to a story about a girl at a window on a farm that no longer exists, in a country that has changed names and governments more than once. And for the 4 minutes it takes his mother to finish, he is not Elon Musk. He is just a boy who promised her in 1990 that he would never forget how to listen. If you find these quieter, more human chapters about Elon Musk's life meaningful, subscribe for more reflections on his childhood, his family, his beliefs, and the moments that the news cycle has never had time for.